So the clutch in the Vivaro, she's dead. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video on Project Vinny, our 2004 Vivaro. Not a happy van. I was on my way back, well, I was actually on the way to biking, and the clutch started slipping. It was, I don't know, the pedal's a bit high, but you know, it's done 160,000 miles odd, so, and I can't find any receipts from previous clutch. It's about that time, I guess. But yes, on the way back from biking, just about limped at home. It was touch and go getting up the hills. So ultimately, we've got it in the workshop. Got a new clutch from GSF. It's 3-piece, so we've got the friction plate there, the springy bit thingy, and the concentric master cylinder. Is it called, or slave cylinder? I can't remember. This is the throwout bearing basically. And there's lots of funny adapter pipes that we'll have to work out. But yeah, so this was about 100 and, I think it was £168. So yeah, so we're gonna have to get it apart. Now it's squished in. It might look like there's a lot of room. There's a lot of room here, which is good. But this thing is a pain in the backside to get in here. It really is. I have to drive it in and then put the back on dollies. I shall show you the dollies that I use, because I've got two sets. I've got that set there which are drive on dollies, and those are lift on. You've got to jack it up and they sit on there in that little tray. And the trouble is, this floor, even though it looks pretty good, is rippled, and what a nightmare it was to push in. It was. I struggled. I did struggle, put all my weight behind it as well. But yeah, I would normally use those, but the van's a bit heavy for them, and they tend to just bend in a little bit. So anyway, I'm waffling already. Haven't done a clutch for years and years and years and years. Never done a clutch on a big van, even though it's not a huge van. So I think we're going to end up learning together. So I guess I'll start by getting it up in the air. I've watched a couple of videos about making more room by taking the front off. So we're going to be taking a whole front off and the rad and everything, so we can get in there. Under trays off, wheel arch liners and stuff. So yeah, I suppose all I can do, this is going to be a bit time-lapse heavy. I do apologise, but yeah, I need my van back. So yeah, I'll set you up and we'll start taking stuff apart. Now I am intending on taking this gearbox to a specialist to check it over. It runs fine. It's a little bit noisy on lower gears when you're sort of idling along, if that makes sense. Sounds a bit sort of idle bearing-y sort of sound to it. And also, when we first had the van, if you remember back in the day, there wasn't a lot of oil in the gearbox because of the boot was split. So that is my intention. Whether it happens or not, we shall see. But yes, yeah, it's not going to be a 5-minute job. So please bear with, and I'll set you up, and I've waffled on for 3.5 minutes already. Let's get on with it. Looks like we've got some residents moving in. I think I'll have to either charge rent or evict them. Well, the battery's disconnected. There's only a little 10mm on the negative terminal there, but that I think we're going to take that battery out and clear out, because there's some walnuts underneath there, and it's not actually held down by anything, so there's a clamp missing. Yeah, we've had some visitors in there too. Well, that didn't take very long, did it? That's good. That's easy to come off, just a few screws here, there, and I think all quite obvious. Probably the most hidden one would have been the one behind the number plate. But yeah, all looking good. Taking the under tray bits off, or the wheel arch liners. Yeah, everything was just a few bolts and a few plugs. So that was easy. Next, I think I'm going to take away the crush bar just to give us some more room, and then we're going to take this off. So we need to move that up to there, I think. Can I do it one-handed? Oh, no, I can't do it one-handed. I'm not going to risk that falling on my head. It's heavy. So yes, to take this off, it looks like we just got a few more screws dotted around the place. Not many, but looks things. One there, something there, something there, some there, and obviously, oh yes, not forgetting the power steering reservoir. I think that just pops off. Then we've got to disconnect our intercooler pipework there and there, which is just normal Jubilee clips, and then hopefully we'll be able to see a bit more of what we want to get to down in there. I'll set you up again. We'll work from there. Now we can actually see what we want to get to. So it's taken a bit of time to get all this out. I mean, this is the first time I've done it, so it's going to take a bit more time. I did spill a little bit of water, but not too bad. Anyway, we can see our gearbox, and we can see our leak, which I couldn't find before, and it's from that shift lever. You see it there? So it's coming from that shift lever. So that's the minimum we've got to do on the gearbox anyways, to replace that seal. Other things we've got to do before it comes out, there's the, looks like, is that power steering pipe is attached to it in there. Obviously we've got the bell housing bolts. I don't know how many of them there are. There's one tucked up in behind there as well. So we'll have to squiggle around there and find it, and that's some sort of a crankshaft pickup, maybe flywheel pickup. So yeah, and that's the hydraulics to the release bearing, that pipe. So yeah, and I've taken off the panel here, just that panel, and we can see what we're looking at here as well. So I think I've seen people do it without taking the drive shafts out, or this drive shaft. I'm going to take this out because I have replaced that boot, and it is a bit of a pain. I've done a video on that as well if you've got a leaky boot there. So I think what I'll do is I'll split the leg or the strut there, swing this down with that undone, and try and wheedle it out somehow. We'll get there, but yeah, I'm gonna have a cup of tea. But before we go for a cup of tea, let's drain the gearbox oil. It's got to come out sometime. Now let's hope there's a lot more in here than there was when I first did it. I'd say yes, there is more. Oh, and that looks good. I can see straight through that. Yeah, I'm not displeased with that. Let's let that drain whilst we're having a cup of tea. Well, we drained the oil and it doesn't look too bad at all, really. I couldn't find any bits with the magnet, so that's a positive. So next up, we're gonna take this dry shaft out. So I'm just gonna undo the strut bolts, and then there's, undo that one obviously. Knock the shaft in, and then there's some bolts in there that we just have to undo and withdraw the shaft. So I'll set you up again and we'll buzz out what we can. I'll loosen off all the hoses and wires and that as well. There we go, that's out from there. I'll just stop that, I'll bung the bolt in there, stop it flopping out. It did strain that a little bit. I think it'd be okay, hope so. And there's the drive shaft out. So next we're going to have a look, see what we do on the other side. So before we start on this side, or on the outside, I've taken off a bolt there. It's a little 10mm headed one. And I don't know if you can see it in there. There's two, there's the other one. And that's the sort of bracket that holds the drive shaft in place. And then that should allow us to pop the drive shaft off a little bit when I undo those two, because I can't get that one undone. Sorry, bad lighting. Can't get that one undone. And with a bit of luck, you're not going to be able to see it, but you can see it through there. We pop the drive shaft out there. I think you can just about see it, can you? I can, so you can. Well, that escalated quickly. Yes, I couldn't get the drive shaft out far enough from the gearbox with this, with the hub swinging down, you know, swinging from here. So yeah, I just undone the caliper, which is hanging up there on a zip tie, and undone the ball joint and undone the track rod end, and took this off, and it all come out, and it's flipping heavy. It is flipping heavy. It tipped me over. I wish I had the camera, because that would have been hilarious. Or I had the camera running. That would have been hilarious. So we're underneath. Yeah, do apologise for the lighting. Let's try plonking that up there. Is that going to stay? How's that? Right, so what we got is, that's where the drive shaft came out of there. And obviously we've got some bell housing bolts that go around. There's one up, am I pointing here? There. But I don't know for sure, but it looks like the starter motor goes through the bell housing, through these bolts. And there's one right up there. So what I'm going to have to do, I mean, this plate looks like it's going to have to come off anyway, because that's bolted to part of the exhaust and the gearbox. So I'm going to take this plate out. There's some small bolts up there. Can you see them? I don't know if you can. Let's extend this thing. There's an earth there, and there's a nut behind it, and that bolts through. And I'm presuming there'll be another bolt for the starter motor somewhere. I don't really know. So I think I'm going to start off by trying to take the starter motor off, and then I'm just going to work my way around from the back as high as I can. And oh, there's that's got to come off as well. That's power steering, so that's obviously a little bracket. Just got to look around and see what's bolted to stuff. And then we've got more and more bell housing bolts. So ultimately I'm going to start off up there. There's no point me videoing it, because it would just be, all you'll see is blurs on my hand or hands. So yeah, you're going to have to bear with me. So sorry about that. But yeah, and also at some point I'm going to have to take that steady off as well. Gosh, my breath, it's cold. I might make some funny noises by turning the heater on in a minute as well. So anyway, I'll leave you for a minute, and let me get what I can of this undone. So I've been a busy boy. So we've got the starter motor disconnected and pulled out the way there, and then got all the bell housing bolts I can get to, apart from one there holding it on. That brace has gone, so that allows it to wobble around a bit. I'll crawl out. Oh, blimey. Out here, got all these little brackets for the power steering, and there's an earth that's clamped there. There's a power steering pipe that's clamped there. I've undone the hydraulics to the release bearing there. I've undone a few of these bell housing bolts. There is one hidden in under there, you won't see it. There it is. I missed that one first time. Undone the cables. That one you just press the button. That one on this one's pretty worn. I don't know if I can get a repair for it or not, but it had one of those little clamps on it. It's holding it in. Reverse switch is gone, and we're nearly there. Just got to do the cables, which basically just pull those lugs up and then push the cable back, and it'll pop up out. And oh, there's a bolt there. See that bolt? I've left that one there. I'll have to save that. That's a long one. Anyway, so that I've been at this all day. I have been at this all day. Obviously, let's turn that off. With the filming, it takes a lot longer, but ultimately, we're ready to undo this engine mount after we've done the cables. take the weight of the engine, and then hopefully split the gearbox. But I've had enough. I'm going to go and have a shower, and I'll see you tomorrow. Just before I go, one of the hardest bit was this plate. This plate goes between the gearbox and the exhaust, and one of the bolts, or two of the bolts for the one of the bolts for the starter motor goes through it, and that was a flipping nightmare to get to. So I think it was that one. So first of all, it had an earth cable on that, which is 10mm, and then the 13mm held the plate on. That was really difficult. It was, if you haven't got ratchet spanners, I think you'd struggle to get to it. So it's the next day. I do apologise about the funny noise. It's my heater up in there, just trying to warm the place up a little bit. Anyway, I digress. I've been having a look at this, and I've got to get my torch. Basically, I think I'm going to struggle to get this gearbox out with that mounting bracket, this horrible dirty thing on there, because if you look, see the stud that holds it in up there? See how high that is? That'll have to come down underneath the chassis rail to come out, because there's only a few inches gap there. So I think what I'm going to do is lower it down a little bit, then undo this bracket, because I can get to these bolts. There's a bolt there, bolt in there, and there's a bolt in the other side which you can barely see. See the one up there in that little sort of cup? So that holds that bracket on. So I think I'm going to have to lower it down on the jack once I've got that nut undone, that one there. Lower it down enough to get those bolts out, and then I'll probably lift that bracket up out of the way, or if I can get it out, I'll take it out, and then we'll start undoing the last of the bolts. I've only left, I think, 3 in. There's a bolt there and a couple bolts underneath. I've taken that stud out. That's a stud that comes through. It's got sort of a T30 in the end of it to pull it out. And obviously I've taken the sensors out. All the wires are off. That's just sat in there. And the shifter cables are tucked up there. So hopefully we're near it. So yeah, I'm gonna set you guys up on tripod. You won't be able to see me undoing that, but I've showed you what it is. The bolts from that side, because I'm going to set you up over that way, just so I can maneuver my jacks around and not kick you on the tripod. Anyway, enough waffle. Let's set you up, and then let's try and get this flipping thing out. hands are shaking. Blimey, that was heavy. Hang on. Let's take you out of the holder. There we go. And I haven't got a clue where my torch is. There. That is a lumpy piece of kit. And the trouble is, that diff housing gets caught up on the subframe. You can see where it's scraped. That is a pain in the ass. I don't know if you can move the engine forward a bit, but it's all on that one engine mount at the moment, but it's out. It's out. I've got a trolley to put it on, but crikey, yeah, that's a big, heavy lump, especially on your own. Yeah, let's anyway, let's get it on the trolley and we'll have a look at it. Right, so we're on the trolley and I'm just looking around. It doesn't look bad in there. There's a bit of rust on that face, but that bearing's good. Actually, doesn't look that old in there, but there we go. Yeah, there's no oil in there. We can see where the oil's leaking from there, from that seal in behind there. It's real mucky, and maybe some from that as well, because as I took it apart, I'm sorry if it's a funny light, I noticed that, look how slack that is. So there's definitely an issue there. Look, I mean, yeah, so this is going to go off to gear change, and they're going to look at it and assess it, basically. Right, let's get this clutch off and see what it's like. Ooh! Something fell out. What's that? Okay. Well, oh, sorry, I'm flashing you. I've seen worse than that, haven't you? Does seem a bit oily. There's plenty of meat on that. That's a bit weird. Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. Actually, it's a bit, it's not soaking wet, but it's a bit mucky. We got a main shaft leak. I don't really know. Trouble is, oil could be coming from outside, couldn't it? I don't know, I'm going to have to do a bit more looking around, I think. But yeah, that doesn't look horrendously worn to me. Especially on that side. And that is not an original clutch. Yeah, it's wet. Look. That's sort of grease on there. We'll see. So I've been looking around, and this face does feel greasy, but I can't see any major signs. I mean, it is damp, but it's not soaking wet inside of here. It's not like it's had oil leaking, but up around here it does get very wet. It's very wet up there, and I'm wondering, I don't even know if you can see it there, I'm wondering if it's the rocker cover or cam cover gasket's gone and it's letting a bit of oil into it, because it is all very wet around here. I'm not sure, but that did not seem worn enough to slip like it was. And I have had the odd waft of oil smell occasionally, so I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. Perhaps it is. Perhaps it's the rocker cover gasket and it's dripping. But how does it get in here? Because all you can see, the only place it can come in is here. You know, behind the teeth. In through there, which is where the starter motor is, or maybe dripping in from the top up there. I mean, you can see more than me at the moment because I can't get my head up round there. So this footage is as much for me as for you, really. I'm just seeing if I can see any obvious leaks. It's quite wet up there on that exhaust up there as well. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we've got to get the gearbox away to get looked over, so we've got a bit of time. But yeah, it's all looking quite wet up there as well. There's definitely an oil leak somewhere, isn't there? Yeah. Anyway, bear with. And here we are. I've just heard back from Gear Change and they've stripped the gearbox down and done their inspection. And I think the technical description for it is that it's yeah, not good. It's actually not even rebuildable. I can't talk. It's not. Yeah, actually, it's not even rebuildable. They are going to have to get another core in because, well, as the reception I spoke to said that it had actually burnt up inside. Now, I suppose, thinking about it, when I got the van, if you remember, back in the day, there was hardly any oil in it. So, yeah, so I'm not surprised. I'm a little disappointed. So ultimately, it's going to be a full recon, which is a good thing, but it's an expensive thing. I mean, they were good as gold. They said, you know, if you can find a second-hand one, carry on, and you know, and they could even inspect that for me if you wanted to. But I'm just looking, and a second-hand gearbox from this is on eBay of the correct type, because mine's an early one, an early 5-speed, not that common. Yeah, with just a 30-day warranty, it's 500 quid. I think it really, and the price they've given me, or they've quoted me for the full rebuild, and that's 12 months warranty, was £1,000. So it is a lot of money for a van that costs you 800 quid. But ultimately, what's it worth with no gearbox? It's not worth anything to me because I can't use it. So anyway, well, yeah, moving on. Let's just move on and go and see him at Gear Change. So the lovely Tash at Gear Change sent us through a few pictures and a couple of short videos of what they found, and here it is. They also inspected the concentric slave cylinder for me and said it had failed, and that was probably the source of the leak causing the clutch to slip. Right, I must apologise about the noise, but I've got my heater on. It's flipping freezing today. Anyway, we have the gearbox back from Gear Change Limited, and oh, doesn't it look different? I've put the bracket on there, put our CSC on there, concentric slave cylinder, and I had to use the old adapter at the end. There's a little adapter goes in there, because the other ones were a different shape. So that's on. I've got my new clutch. So we've got a new friction plate and pressure plate. I've got a little clutch fitting tool or alignment tool. I'll do that and then we shall put it in place. I've had a clean up. Oh, sorry, jerking around. Got a new bearing for inside the flywheel that the input shaft goes into. We've had a bit of a clean up, as you can you can see it was pretty mucky. It's not clean. It is not a clean engine, but it is a lot more workable on, if that makes sense, because before I was getting the right stuff. It was still a bit of a mess, but yeah, so it is a lot cleaner. Yeah, so I've got to start putting things back together. Oh yeah, I took the starter motor off because it's in such a mess, so I'll do the connections, put that back in behind. Sorry, I'm waving you around, but that's got to go in behind there, preferably before the gearbox goes on, but it can't be bolted up because it bolts to the gearbox, if that makes sense. Anyway, I've got to get it off the axle stand. I've got to get the clutch on the flywheel with the bearing in, have a tidy up around here, and then I'm going to let you see me struggle getting this thing in. We'll see. Wish me luck. Well, it's in there. That was a struggle. It's heavy and I'm old, and yes, that was a real struggle. So what's left now? Well, ultimately I've got to do the rest of the bellows in bolts and the stuff in behind, which is the starter motor, and there's some brackets and things. I've got that engine, well, the gearbox mount sat in there, but obviously I've got to come up to get that. So we'll get in there. But yes, if you can, get someone else to do it. Oh, we ended up taking the front sort of brace off as well, because I had to get it in. Just made it a little bit easier. Well, made it a little less hard. Okay, I've got a bit of an apology. I got a little bit carried away and put a lot more of it back together. I had the heater on and the stereo on, and well, I just got a bit carried away. But anyway, what we've done is we've bled the clutch, which I use this Sealy brake and clutch bleeding system. Basically, oh, excuse me. Basically, you put that cap on the reservoir and you pump it up to 10 psi, and it's dogs are going mad. Basically, it puts 10 psi in this, but feeds it with fluid as well. And so I bled it through, got all the air out, and it took a while. I had to bleed it using that system, and then when I first pressed the clutch, it just went bump to the floor. So I pumped it a bit, then bled a bit more air, pumped it, bled it, pumped it. I don't know, about 7 or 8 times I did that, and now I've got a pedal. So we'll find out when we start it whether it works or not. Anyway, so everything else is going back on, or gone back on. So we've got the cables back on there, gear change cables. Got electrics. We've got, like I say, this clutch master cylinder feed, and we've got our sensor down there, which is on the crank. No, it's not. It's flywheel sensor. I think it's for the rev counter. Like I say, yes. So we've got the cables there, and in behind there, sorry, we have got starter motor fitted and everything else. I'll go underneath in a second. You might be able to see some bits, but yeah, it is awkward. It is awkward. I also have done the drive shafts, so that one's back in there. Hub back on. I managed to get the hub nut off using, I borrowed a socket without an adapter, so that worked really well. Yeah, the other side is on, all built up. It was just the way, it's only a few bolts and that. Remember to connect the sensors, and yeah, you know. Anyway, let's go underneath and I'll show you what I've done underneath. Right, so we're underneath, and you can see, well, can you see? Starter motor's in. That bracket there, that metal plate, that's a pain, because you've got to get a bolt right at the top there. So yes, it is a pain, but there we go. It is. We've got all the bell housing bolts in. There's the drive shaft, and the intermediate bearing is up in there. Now that bearing, there's no slack in it, but it did feel quite dry. So that's a future job, I think. Another future job, no give, but yeah. And the engine steadies in. All the engine mounts are all done up there. All the brackets are all done up. So I think and hope we are there. It is fiddly, but yeah, it is awkward on your back. I know it still looks a bit mucky up there, but it is, I can't even show you. It is 100, sorry, waving around, it's 100 times better than it was up there. Oh, and this thing, that was a godsend getting up in behind. So I think I'm going to carry on just building stuff up. I'm not going to put you through time lapse because it is exactly the opposite of what we took off. Got to put the airbox back on. Radiator's got to go in with the intercooler. It's just all slotting here. and then once that's in and we put some coolant in it, I think we might have to go for a start and see if it works. Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, right. Well, we've just thrown it back together, just put the bare minimum on, so we've connected the radiator and the intercooler. I've bled the water system, or the cooling system, a bit how I've done it. So I've got this test kit, which has been sat there for ages, so I don't think we've got any leaks, and basically go around opening vents. And there's 2 vents there. One there, see them? There's a vent down. Can you see that? I don't know if you can. There's a vent on that little rubber pipe down there. And also there is a vent on the top. I'm just going to put you down. There's a vent just there on the radiator. So basically just open one at a time with pressure on it. And then until water came out. And so yeah, and that's been sat there with 10 psi on there for ages. We will, obviously there's going to be some airlocks in there, or not, some air bubbles, so we'll run it for a bit, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I've put the MAF on, haven't put the air filter on, so hopefully we can see if we got any leaks, because in, I think it might be the previous video, we changed the valve cover gasket. I'm guessing now what we can do is connect the battery, see if I have put everything back together. Right, the doors are open, so we're going to get some funny noise from outside. Lots of farm traffic. I think everything's connected. We haven't done that one yet. That'll be alright for a start. Anyway, let's try it, shall we? Contact! So we've run it up to temperature and it all seems okay. Had to bleed it quite a few times from that one there. But yeah, it's just water coming out now. And at the beginning this got really hot, so I don't know if this is some sort of a pre-water heater or something. I don't know. Anyway, obviously there wasn't enough water getting here, but it sorted itself out, and like I said, we bled that one lots of times. So yeah, it's coming on. So I guess now we've just got to rebuild the front a bit. Should we see if the YouTube pixies will help us out? Let's try. And there we go. The YouTube fairies have helped us out. Let's take it off there. Yeah, so we're all back together. Obviously I've got to do the hub nuts and wheel nuts up, wheel bolts. Come on, it's a hub nut, 207 pound-foot, and wheel bolts are 105. So yeah, we'll get it on the floor and do them up, and then it's time to try and get this out. Yeah, what a pain in the backside, but there we go. Anyway, let's do that. We'll get it outside running for longer, because I don't like running in here, because obviously we're inside even with the door open. Yeah, let's test drive, hopefully. Well, no slipping. Nothing yet anyway. Clutch seems fine. Into 5th. The window open or something. left the window open. Yeah. Up to 50. Someone wants me. Right. Well, I'm hoping this is all okay then. Would I recommend doing this? No. It's, well, if you've got a ramp or you can get the van high enough and you've got trolley jacks that can do that, yeah, or if you've got some help as well. But it is a difficult job. I found it really quite difficult. What else can I say, really? Yeah, we got it done. But yeah, it's not a 5-minute job. Obviously, I had the complication of waiting for the gearbox to get overhauled. So obviously, you forget where things go. So it takes a little bit long to put things back. But hey, there we go. So touch wood. I'm going to call this a success. And that's it for today. So yeah, MOT next, and hopefully we'll be okay. Well, thank you very much for watching. Check us out on Instagram, Larcs_workshop. We've also got a Facebook page now as well, Larcs Workshop. And I hope to see you next time. Cheers then. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Welcome back to another video on Project Vino. Vino? Oh. Anyway, we've got to get the gearbox off anyway. Sorry, we've got to get it off away. It's off. Oh God, I can't talk. And the technical, no, not the technical, maybe the technical. Let's see if I can say technical again. Technically, I can.